Good morning and welcome to our next session with Canadian Palladium. I'm Joe Farrs, Vice President of Investment Banking here at Red Cloud Securities. I'm joined by Richard Sutcliffe. He's a geological advisor to the company, as well as Jamie Newell, director of the company as well. Canadian Palladium, it's advancing their East Bowl project just west of Sudbury. Gentlemen, you'll have 12 minutes and then we'll have some time for Q&A at the end of the session. Anyone listening, the attendees, please feel free to ask questions using the Q&A link. And with that, Jamie, Richard, please take it away.
Thank you very much, Joe, and good morning, everybody. Canadian Palladium is focused on two key metals, palladium and cobalt. Palladium at our East Bowl project in Sudbury, which we're going to spend most of today talking about, and cobalt at our Tesoro project on the Czech-German border in Europe. I think for us, the reason these metals are important is they are both key elements of the hybrid car market with palladium, predominantly used in catalytic converters. And I think it's interesting to note that only this week, Volkswagen announced that all their models are now going to be only available, or will all be available in petrol hybrid models, and that they see the hybrid as the crossover vehicle to give the world time to catch up to electric revolution and building the infrastructure required. And therefore they see that the hybrid models will be the leading models for 10 to 15 years. So very much a metal for now. And obviously cobalt providing the thermic stability in electric car batteries being very much the metal for the future. So that's our strategy as a company. But what we really want to do today is update you and brief you on our East Bowl Palladium project. And to do that, I'll hand you over to Richard Sutcliffe.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. Pleasure. Good morning, everybody, and a pleasure to speak to the East Bowl project today. I think the first thing that sets Canadian Palladium's East Bowl PGM property apart from many competitors is the location. 90 kilometers west of Sudbury. Of course, that's Canada's premier destination for sulfide mining, smelting, and processing. East Bowl Palladium is got great infrastructure, accessed by all-weather routes just north of the Trans-Canada Highway, well positioned with power, rail infrastructure, food, fuel, lodging, and requirements for running a program. In addition, this project is fully permitted for drilling, and we've been active on our drilling program for the last 2 years. That's been a team effort led by Gary Clark, Des Cullen, and Craig Maitland, who've been dedicated to this project over the last 18 months. Next slide. The East Bowl PGM property is more than just palladium. We've got an interesting mix of metals here, palladium, rhodium, and platinum being key contributors, as well as copper and significant credits, gold, nickel, and cobalt. But palladium in total is about 52% of the metal value based on the price model for this this palladium equivalent calculation. One of the important factors of East Bowl is the fact that the sulfides have a very high PGM tenor. That means a small amount of sulfide typically contains quite high PGM grades. The drilled core on the left is an example where approximately 2-3% sulfides are showing well in excess of 12 grams PGMs, one of our high-grade components. Next slide, please. Canadian Palladium acquired East Bowl in 2019, and of course has had a very active 2 years drilling. When the property was acquired, did have a 43101 compliant resource estimate of 11 million tons at 1.46 grams per ton palladium equivalent, for a total of just over 500,000 ounces of palladium equivalent contained metal. And that was at back in 2019, a price deck that used 914 an ounce palladium for pricing. Of course, palladium price has risen substantially since then. The property is about 190 hectares in Giroux Township. And when it was acquired, there was approximately 2 kilometers of strike length with in the mineralization that had been drilled by previous operators with shallow depth, about 120 meters. The table at the bottom gives the grades for the 2019 resource. You can see palladium running about 0.6 grams per ton, but significant contributions: platinum, gold, rhodium, copper, and nickel. Next slide, please. This shows the geometry of the deposit from 2019, wireframe of the mineralizations with a 3D perspective. You can see the 2 kilometer strike length that had been drilled in 2019 with a significant gap in the middle. The key zones were the Valhalla zone, which made the bulk of the strike length, the garden zone in the west end, and a smaller hanging wall zone in the east end. Since our drilling program has substantially expanded this both on strike and down dip, as well as discovering new zones. Next slide, please, Jamie. Another key factor I think that's very important and an advantage for the East Bull deposit is that we've got wide mineralization intersections with a pretty consistent 45-degree dip to the north. This gives it a very favorable geometry for potential open pit extraction. As you can see from this section from the 2019 resource, those squares are 50 meters a grid. So you've got significant widths of mineralization, and the footwall of the mineralized zone would essentially form a southern pit wall in an open pit model. So this is an excellent geometry for open pit mining development. Next slide, please. This summarizes sort of some of the key features of our 2021 drilling program, which we feel has made excellent progress. We've 15,000 meters plus with one rig commenced in February 2020 and is ongoing. The drilling program has extended the strike from the 2.2 kilometers to well over 3 kilometers, extended the deposit significantly down dip, and filled in some of those gaps that were in the previous model. But also, I think importantly, some new zones discovered in this process. Going forward, that's where continued upside on this deposit is going to be, and I'll detail that a little bit later. We are in the process, we're quite well advanced now on a new 43-101 resource, saying here to Q4 2021, so we expect to get that out quite shortly. And in addition, we are quite well advanced on metallurgical work that we're doing at SGS Lakefield. This slide shows the outline of the deposit in essentially a gray tone, which overlies a aeromag map, red obviously being high and blues being lows. The Canadian Palladium's drilling since 2020 is shown in the red drill traces on this diagram, and the historical ones are in black. And so you can see the extent of drilling that's being done to build out this resource. Aeromag's been quite useful as a guide to the strike position of the mineralized zone. We're typically occupying this gradient on the north flank of a high, which is locally offset by some fault structures, and MAG has been pretty helpful in defining those. We've been working quite extensively at the west end of the deposit lately, where we discovered a new zone we call the end of hole zone. We're quite excited about this because it's, I think it's really the first time a feeder system has been identified for the East Bull mineralization, and it gives us the potential for some higher grade opportunities. This shows some of the recent intersects that we've released from out in this area. We've got both some wide intersections of 2 gram material, 2 gram plus material, and some narrow higher grade intersections. But we're continuing on. The next slide will show some more detail of this area and why we're kind of excited about this feeder system. This is a cross section through the deposit. The garden zone would be the previously known identified mineralized zone dipping 45 degrees north. And then this end of hole zone is beneath that. It's actually steeper dipping. The section shows an apparent shallow dip. So that's correct interpretation, but it's an apparent shallow dip. So the end of hole zone is a feeder zone for the garden zone. And the reasons for that is it shows a lot of evidence of being a dynamic magma conduit, a lot of inclusions. It's got some higher concentrations of sulfide occurring in it. Although this is already adding to the resource, we also think it's a great target for potential higher grade mineralization, kind of similar to some of the offset situations that are drilled in the Sudbury area. So one of the key sort of new opportunities and one of the big upsides going forward. One of the things we're doing at East Bull is using resistivity to identify targets. This is an MT survey, regional MT survey, and gives us a deeper look into the intrusion to target deeper mineralization using areas of lower resistivity. This is disseminated sulfide. We're not getting conductivity, so look. Lower resistivity is the object here. So these are indicating drill targets. We think that one in the center might actually be the extension of the end of hole zone that we've been working on. And so that's why I say, these feeder systems are where some upside going forward are going to be on the deposit. Next slide. I think this is a great graphical depiction of our drilling progress. The grid on this plan view is 500 meters. So you can see now that the deposit's been defined for well over 3.5 kilometers strike length. Gaps filled in, zones broadened, and new zones coming into the picture. So that is the result of the last 2 years of drilling. This graphical representation will be reflected in the new resource estimate that we anticipate. Next slide.
Yeah, sorry.
So just in summary then, we a very unique situation here with a significant PGM copper deposit very close to Sudbury. We've been very successful extending this with our drilling. And watch out for our resource update to come out this quarter. And I also point out that this is just a snapshot in time. The resource estimate takes us up to hole 72, and we've still got a few more awaiting assays. So, there's more to add. Metallurgical work coming as well in Q4. Thanks, Joe.
That's great, guys. Appreciate that. Really, that slide 14 summarizes it so well, how far you guys have come here in such short order. Just a question on the metallurgical report and the efforts there. Can you speak to that, how that's been going, maybe highlight some of your findings?
Absolutely. So we've got two composites in at SGS Lakefield. I would say we're about midway through our flotation program. Of course, a lot of the bond mill work, grinding test work's being done. And what we're finding is that East Bull is certainly giving us, living up to expectations of this high PGM tenor and low amount of sulfide. We're getting good recoveries and can anticipate some good concentrate grades. So I would say that the SGS work shows that this is progressing quite smoothly.
That's really exciting. Maybe one last question here, Richard. Just on the drilling, you mentioned that there were some assays there pending. What do you expect the news flow to look like? I mean, outside of the resource update, what can we expect on assays?
We've got about a dozen holes yet to come, and of course, we're currently drilling. We're currently drilling now, so we would to get as well as these other issues, other newsworthy items of resources and metals, I would expect we'll have some drill results out sort of on about a monthly basis, Joe.
Beautiful. That's perfect, guys. Well, we're out of time. Really do appreciate you guys presenting here today. I would ask that everyone stay tuned for our next presentation at 9:45 with Valor Metals.